All right, defendant Kristen Holtzman is from this small town of Geneseo, Illinois, about 6,500 people who live there. So it's no surprise that a lot of prospective jurors either knew her or had heard about her cancer story. What impact did that have on jury selection? Trial attorney Richard Roth is here to help us answer that question. Richard, happy Friday Eve to you, as we call Thursdays around here. Thanks for being with us. How are you? Good, thank you. So here's what I know about jury selection. And I'm from a little town, so I feel like I can kind of relate to how difficult this might be. Within the first 4 hours of voir dire, they started with 70 people, knocked it down to 31 who they questioned individually. And 31 of them, of those 31, many of them said they had already formed an opinion about this case. Do those people automatically get thrown out?
Yes. If you already have an opinion, you have not heard the evidence, and they are thrown out for cause. I, too, am from a very small town, so I get where they're coming from. Not only that, Christy, but coincidentally, I worked for Tom Railsback of that area of Illinois years ago when I had probably less wrinkles and more hair. So I'm very familiar with the Midwestern small-town environment, and it's a very warm, collegial, friendly environment, and they read their local papers, and it's hard to find jurors, very hard.
Yeah, I'm from a little town in Ohio, so I understand that, right there with you on that. And as I understand, of the 31 that were questioned, even more of the people knew somebody who was on the witness list for this trial, a potential witness anyway. I would think that would be completely unavoidable in a town of this size. So I'm wondering, does that affect the way an attorney in that town will strategize his case, knowing that some of those jurors may know some of these witnesses?
Absolutely. Let's be clear. This is, and you know that I deal with a lot of financial scams. Of all the scams I've dealt with, this is probably one of the most upsetting, and yet for the least amount of money. So it's a little ironic there. And if you're a lawyer trying to defend this case, the first thing you want to do is get out of town. You want to try to make a motion to remove it from that local Geneseo County and get it somewhere else in the state, because it is very hard to win this case in light of the facts. If you're unsuccessful at that, and apparently that, I'm not sure if that motion was made.
Yes, it was. In fact, there were several change of venue motions made. All of them were denied.
Okay, I didn't know that. And if you're unsuccessful, then you have to try your best to really go dig deeper on each of the jurors. The voir dire takes longer. You have to make sure not only that they don't know the witnesses, but they don't know the affiliations that gave monies to Ms. Holtzman. You have to make sure that they don't, that they haven't read the paper on this case, because anyone who reads this case is just upset. It's a vile set of facts. So it's very hard to find independent jurors. And let's be clear, you really don't want an unbiased juror. You want a juror biased on your side. So it's even harder to do that.
Right, in this case. So, but my question, I guess, is if you know that some of those jurors know the potential witnesses, because again, I think it's probably unavoidable. Even if they know them, they might know them and they might not like them, or they might know them by association. But if they know them, how, as an attorney, do you strategize your case with that knowledge?
The first thing you have to do, and the voir dire is, I believe, the most important part of any trial. And what you have to do then is ask the juror, how do you know Mr. Smith? How long do you know Mr. Smith for? What was your relationship with Mr. Smith? Did you work with Mr. Smith? And you have to dig deeper. And if, in fact, that person does not like Mr. Smith, or Ms. Holtzman in this case, or a witness, that could be a good thing. But once somebody has some personal knowledge of a witness or a party or the case, you really have to dig very deep. And if you dig deep enough, you can hopefully find a reason to eliminate them for cause and just get rid of that juror. That's really the goal there.
Okay, here's my other question. There was apparently one prospective juror in this group that outright rejected the judge's instructions that the defendant was not responsible for her actions if she was found to be insane. So I'm wondering if that's somebody that you can determine, do they really believe that? Or do they just not want to serve jury duty? And do you let them go regardless?
Yeah, it's hard to determine whether people believe what they say, but I will say that someone like that you would want on the jury, because you want, in this case, you're really aiming for what's called jury nullification. Have the jury essentially hear the evidence and say, you know what, notwithstanding the evidence, I'm going to believe what I believe, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And that is a strategy at times in light of the difficulty of this case.
All right, Richard Roth, thank you so much. We're going
You're
to talk to
welcome.
Richard in just a little bit as well. We're going to bring attorney Richard Roth into this case right now as we answer your Facebook questions. We want to make sure that we get all those answers for you. And Richard, Holly on Facebook contacted us and she said, I am appalled by this lady. I hope she has to pay back every penny she stole. So let me ask you, if she admitted that she did this, would the judge automatically say, okay, you admitted it, you do have to pay it back?
Well, you do need, in the criminal world, you need more than an admission. So you need some independent corroboration of the admission, which they clearly have here. This is piling on after piling on. There are apparently going to be 21 witnesses, all of whom have nothing to gain, nothing to take advantage of. All of whom are going to say, she told us she had brain cancer, she told us she had chemotherapy, she told us she was dying, she had tumors in her brain. And it's very hard to defend when you have so many people. But the bottom line is that, yes, you need some corroboration other than an admission, and they certainly have it here.
Well, what do you think is well, if she's convicted, would she have to pay all of that money back plus jail time? In your opinion, what would be a suitable sentence for her?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She will have to pay all that money back and she will have jail time. It depends on, the irony of this case is that it's only $16,000. So you look at all the massive scams and scandals in this country that have taken place in the tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. So luckily for her, it's not an exaggerated jail time, but it's such an offensive thing that she did that a judge at the end of the day who makes the decision is going to, after the parole information is in and all the information is in from the different sources, is going to have to make a decision as to what the minimum and maximum is and what to give her. But she's going to be, my belief is she will be going to jail and she will be ordered to pay that money back.
All right. Rebecca on Facebook wrote to us and says, I don't want to see her get off scot-free here, but she could almost use ineffective counsel for an appeal. Her lawyer seems to not be doing a good job, which goes to what you and I were talking about. And I don't want to say he's not doing a good job, but there were certainly those moments where he seemed ill-prepared.
Yeah, the ineffective counsel defense is a tough defense. He's there, he's made motions to preclude, he's cross-examining all the witnesses. So it's not like he's literally asleep at the wheel. So it's going to be a very tough defense. The one thing that he's hanging his hat on is this insanity defense, and he's going to have apparently an expert take the stand in defense to show that she was not mentally capable of having the requisite intent to actually commit a crime. So that's what he's hanging his hat on. I don't believe, even though he may not be as thorough or as organized, it doesn't raise the level to an incompetent counsel or ineffectiveness of counsel appeal. It just doesn't.
You were talking about the fact that maybe there should have been a change of venue in this trial, and I want to talk about the fact that there was actually a discussion of a plea deal, and that she rejected any plea deal because it involved any jail time at all. And her reasoning for that was because she's also in a custody battle for her 2 children with both of the fathers of those children. So when you know that, if you had been her attorney, would you still have pushed for a plea knowing what we know about this case? Could that still have been her best case scenario?
See, the answer is absolutely yes. You do push for a plea in light of the overwhelming evidence against you, but at the end of the day, it's her decision. So if she wants to take a shot and go for jury nullification or hope that jurors do not want to convict her, it's certainly a gamble. I, for one, believe I'm better off with just being involved voluntarily in the decision-making process than leaving it to the hands of a jury. So the lawyer will generally plead, if you will, to get her to take a plea. But at the end of the day, it's not his decision. In this case, it's her decision. And she may believe that she has a shot. We're talking here about a woman who convinced people that she had brain cancer. So I'm not sure. I don't think she's insane, but I don't know how stable she really is. So she may say, I'll take a shot for the kids to try to win this case.
That's interesting. Maybe she thought, I understand what you're saying. She was able to do that, so maybe she thinks she's able to win this case on that insanity plea. That's an interesting take.
Yeah, I'm reminded,
ahead.
Christy, I'm reminded of a poem. I think it was Sir Walter Scott, and back in the 1800s, said, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave, if at first we practice to deceive." And what's happened here is, once she started the deceit, it got worse and
Yeah.
worse and worse, with the bake sales and the car washes and the charity donations, and she kept going until one day she was miraculously cured. It's a very tough sell for a lawyer
And if
to
somebody's
try to sell to a
claiming,
jury.
sure, and if somebody's claiming insanity, would you dare put her on the stand?
I wouldn't put her on the stand because I think you're going to show that she isn't insane. What you're going to do is find the best doctor you can who's going to examine her beforehand, prepare a report, be deposed, be cross-examined, and then he will take the stand and he will say, I have clinically diagnosed this patient, this defendant, and I can say affirmatively that she's not capable to withstand trial. She doesn't know what she is doing. She is, quote, insane. It's the insanity defense. It is a very tough, scientific approach to a defense. It may be the only thing he has here in light of the 21 witnesses, all of whom are very credible people. But yes, that's what he has. He has this one witness who's going to hope to sway the jury that she didn't have the requisite intent to deceive people. And it's a tough sell.
Richard Roth, thank you so much for your insight.
Great, thank you.
Sure, take good care.